So let's first look at what happens when we have a third-party library that has the same name as our validator class. So I'm going to jump to the resource pack directory, and this time we're going to open up the 12th step folder here called adding a third-party library. Copy the index.php as well as the lib folder, and we're going to overwrite everything that's currently in our OOP folder. So the difference now is that we now have this third-party validator.php. And if we open that up, we'll see that it has the same class name as our current validator. The code is pretty similar too, although it has an improved isValidEmail method. But just keep in mind that this is an example only, and that a lot of times a third-party library will be far more robust than anything we can create ourselves. But if we drop it in after building up our own library that uses the same class name, then things are going to get tricky. So if we open up the form.php file, which includes our form class, and we include our validator.php file, and we also include our third-party validator, and then we go back to the browser and refresh the page, you're going to see a fatal error because it says we can't redeclare the class validator. This is because we now have two classes called validator that we're trying to include, and PHP doesn't know how to pick which one we want at any given time. So if you had to solve this problem knowing what you know right now, what would you do? Well, there's a couple things, right? First, we could rename the third-party validator. We could actually go into the code and change the name. This might solve the initial problem of including the file, but a lot of times these libraries don't stand on their own. There could be some additional files that use this class that kind of come bundled with it. Also, if we end up wanting to update the code in this library in the future, because the third party has updated it, then we're going to lose this change and we'll have to remember somehow that we need to change the name. Okay, so that doesn't really seem like a very good solution. Another solution would be to change the name of our own validator class. But the problem with that is that we're heavily dependent on it at this point. And so every place that we use that class, we're going to have to change the name. That might not be so bad with a little search and replace, but chances are that the name that we decide on isn't going to be quite as descriptive as the current one because validator is exactly what it is. What would we be adding to that? We'd be adding a prefix that says maybe it's a build a module validator or our own project validator. And if we're going to start prefixing our class names with something to make sure that it doesn't conflict with something else, then they're going to be a bit harder to read and also a bit less portable. Like if we want to use it in some other project, unless we chose our prefixes carefully, then we might have some weird prefixes in our other project that we work on. So neither of these seem like really good solutions. So the way to deal with this problem is by using something called namespaces.